All right, welcome back, guys. I did notice that I'm missing an image here, and that's because I actually shifted my PC. Now I'm using a different one, so when copying files, probably I missed something. So I'll put an image here later. For now, let's go to the important stuff. So let's check for the reference image, the reference image here. So what we want to do now in this one is to create the contacts that will be here. Since we have several users in our database, let me go right there and let me just say localhost PHP my admin, so that we can confirm that in the database. So our database is right here, and inside here, the users table, we did add 3 users so far. So this is great. So we can have users here on the contact list. Now, when we load this, it straight away goes to the chat area here. But because we don't have any chats so far, we're going to have to deal with contacts. So how we do this is when we click on contacts, you see it goes to the full page here. What we want to do is design the static view of what we want to see and then convert that into a dynamic view. So in this one, we're going to do some HTMLing. So this page is the which page is this? This is the index.php. So let's load the index.php, and this section right here, in case you're unsure of a part here, what the div is, you can simply right click and say inspect element, and then down here you can see that as I move over here, it shows me what I'm hovering over. So this one is the inner left panel, so that's the one we want to deal with right now. So let me go back here and go to the inner left panel, which is this one right here. So I want this to display the users that I want to see. So let me see where the images are right now. My images, sample images, are in UI images right there. Okay, so I can get some of these to use. So there's user 1, 2, and 3. So let's try with let's start with user 2. So to do this, we're going to have a few divs here. So let me make a div right there. Now I'm going to give this div an ID of contact, for example. So this is one contact. So it's going to hold that info in there. So inside this, I will have 2 things, the user's image and the user's details, aka the name in this case. So I'm simply going to say img, which is the image way of doing things, and I'm going to say UI slash, where is this? I'm forgetting now. UI images, right? So let's go back, UI images slash user2.jpg, and of course I can put a style here, but let's just put an ID here and say ID contact. Oh, we don't actually need an ID here. What we could do is, because this has an ID of contact, we can simply use this ID up here. So let's go to our styles here, and I'm going to say contact. That's pound contact. But because we're not actually we are designing the contact itself here, and then we are going to have 2 of these. So the contact and the contact space img. So this one is going to have styles for all the images inside the contact div, and this is for the actual contact div. Okay, so let's go here and refresh our page to see what's happening. So this is what we have. So we have this image and we have one contact here. Quite all right. So now the first things first, what we want to do is reduce the size of the contact itself. So I'm going to say the width of this oops, what have I done? Width is going to be let's say something like 200 pixels. Let's do the same for the height. 200 pixels, maybe a bit much, but we'll see. let me try 150. I think that would work better. 150. And then we're going to go to the image and tell it to have a width of let's try 100% of the div. So let's refresh that and see what we've got. So great. Now we obviously need some margins, so let's go to the contact here and say margin. In this case, I'm going to have a margin of 10 pixels. Pretty great. And also the thing is, I want this thing to display, I want this to have a display of, to display in the center. If there's only one contact, that contact should be in the center, and so on. So to center everything, what I will do is I will get a, the thing is I don't want to add these styles to the inner left panel because there's other things that I'm going to be displaying here which might not need those same styles. So to avoid such a thing, I'm going to create an overall div here, a larger div. So cut this and bring it down here. Oops, there. Okay, so that we have this large div here. So I'm going to add a few styles to it. I'm going to say text align center, something like this. Meanwhile, in contact here, I'm going to remove the text align center. I'm going to say text align. Maybe I should leave it. It might actually come in handy. So let me leave it right there. So text align center, and I think that's about it. And then contact, now we'll have to have a display changed to display inline block. Now the reason I'm adding inline block is because I want it to be treated like text but still be treated like a block. So inline is for text and block is for it to be solid still. Now the reason I want it to be treated like text is because the parent div has text align center. So if the div is treated like text, it's going to be centered as well. So let's see that in action. There we go. All right, so the image is over here, but we need to put the name of our contact below the div. So where is this div? This is contact right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is increase the height a little bit by maybe 20. So I'm going to say 70 pixels over there so that I can have somewhere to add the name of the user. So I'm going to say break username, something like this, a placeholder, and I'm going to refresh, and there we go. So we have our contact and their username. So what we want to be able to do is when we click on this contact, it should take us to the chat section of this page so that we have we can see what we've been chatting about with this person. Okay, so there we go, contacts. Awesome. Okay, so here we have to put an event that happens when we actually click all this. But before we do all that, now that we have a clear view of what's going on, so let me just give an example of before we move on, of how this would look like if there were multiple contacts. So I'm going to Shift Control D, these three contacts, and let me put 1 here, and let me put 3 here so that we have different people. So let me refresh that, and this is what we actually get. But the images are not square images. Not all of them will be square images. So what we could do in order to circumvent that is a few things. So first of all, what I want to do is go to where is this? Let's go to the contact here, and then let's just say overflow hidden, so that if the image is overflowing, it will be hidden. Okay, and then the image itself, let's give it, let's say 150%. let's see what that does. Okay, so it gets us closer to what we want, but then we are hiding our user name. All right, so what we will do is just leave it as it was. We'll leave the hidden there. We'll use it later, because PHP can actually crop these images if we want to. So let's leave it there for now, and then okay, there we go. All right, so one more important thing to add on the text align or display inline block, is to say vertical align top, something like this. Now, the reason this is important is because if for some reason there's more data in one of these guys, as you had seen previously, this image was hanging on the bottom, but now it's hanging at the top here. Now, to make sure that it's always at the top, you have to add this vertical align top. So let me refresh the page, and there we go. So everything is good. And let's go back to contacts. There we go. All right, so we only want these contacts to be showing when we are on the contacts list, and then to stop showing when we are in the chat, like so. So that we go to the chat and then we come back to the contacts. All right, so in order to do that, we have to attach the loading of this stuff to one of these buttons here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in the next video.